Hey, FootClan, before we start today's show, I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of all three of us, the entire Fantasy Footballers team. Thank you for supporting this show over at jointhefoot.com. Since the beginning, you've been with us as we've grown this independent podcast, and we could not have done it without you. We continue to do it with you, and we thank you so very much for supporting us at jointhefoot.com.
Hey, this is David Johnson, running back of the Arizona Cardinals, and you're listening to the Fantasy Footballers podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from Draft.com Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. I see that Hat Week is over. Hat Weeks are over. Mike is trim.
It's come to a thrilling conclusion that ended with me getting a haircut.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on that. Did you do some beard trimming too?
I did.
You just got real tight.
You gotta sculpt it up every once in a while.
Yeah, well, you're looking nice, Mike.
My semi-annual haircut.
Well, look.
Once every 6 months. That's all I can do.
I know getting a haircut isn't the most difficult thing to do. But at this point, you've gotten a haircut. As far as I'm concerned, that may qualify you to play quarterback for the Giants. Do you want that job?
That's all it takes these days is a haircut?
We're going to go with the haircut.
Let me tell you this. You would still be better than Eli, but you do not. You do not want that job. That offensive line. I mean, look, Eli is playing poorly. I mean, it's absurd. But and he deserves so much blame. But not all of it, because that offensive line is unbelievable. I mean,
in the bad way.
In a bad way. I mean, it's always a race. Every snap, it's a race. What gets to the quarterback first, the defense or the ball? That's how it felt.
That's not a race I want my quarterback involved in.
No.
Everybody wants to say, like I tweeted last night, I said, Eli Manning is as bad as Saquon Barkley is good. And
true factual.
You had 80% of the people who have eyeballs, and no, that's true.
Right. It's like an SAT question.
Right. And then you have the other 20% that think I'm stupid by not acknowledging the offensive line in the sentence. Listen, they can all be true. You can have a bad offensive line, bad play calling, and a bad quarterback. And that's what we saw last night.
We did.
Now, I don't think the play calling is the problem, because I don't believe that Pat Shurmur calls 12 screens in a row. I don't think that's what he's called. That's not like the design. Pat Shurmur's got to be going.
Well, you know what Pat Shurmur needs to do then? Stop calling plays that has that as an outlet.
But he has to have it as an outlet with the offensive line.
I don't know.
It's a behavioral addiction of Eli Manning. And the thing is there was a clip of Pat Shurmur the week before, and you can read his lips, and he's screaming, "Throw the ball." And he checked it down again after that play. If you want to know what would be different without Eli, look at the other side of the football field, where Carson Wentz can escape the pocket, can make a play, can prolong a play. You just need a couple seconds. He's just got both feet in cement, and that's the problem. And this is not the anti-Eli show. This is the pro-Saquon show.
Oh, my goodness.
Is there a better running back? Genuinely, is there a better running back in football? Now, that's, reactionary.
Sure.
But I saw the poll go up everywhere with Ezekiel Elliott and Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson and Todd Gurley, and then Saquon Barkley. After what you saw last night,
there's certainly better fantasy running backs, but as far as pure running back talent, I would still say Todd Gurley is just as good. I would say David Johnson is just as good as far as just pure talent.
Very impressive performance last night by Saquon.
And then
you're skipping over Le'Veon Bell, really?
Le'Veon Bell is unbelievable. He's a freak athlete when it comes to his receiving skills, and that's great. But I actually don't put Le'Veon Bell.
I would actually put Le'Veon.
High.
I put Le'Veon at 1. That's where I would have him.
I see him as like 5.
So Le'Veon is not as physically gifted, like his athletic measurables. He's not as fast. He's not even anywhere close to as fast as Saquon Barkley, but Bell just is a great running back.
So the last 2 weeks for Saquon Barkley. 19 touches total. And then last night he had, by the garbage time, he ended up with over 20. 13 for 130 and a touchdown on the ground. 9 for 99.
Oh,
because they
you're pretty disappointed.
They decided
Saquon.
to Wayne Gallman the end of that game. But 36.5 fantasy points in our league of record. Absolutely dominant considering you know that the defense knows what's coming. Now, for Odell Beckham Jr. owners, are you worried about this situation? I mean, he was fined for his comments last week. I'm sure they were a stab in the heart of Lions ownership when you pay him the money he wanted. And they ask him, are you happy in New York? And he says, that's a complicated question. You know, you've been paid to be happy at this point. And I get it. It's about the team and the offense and the trajectory and wanting the ball and punching the air conditioner and leaving before halftime. But are you concerned as a fantasy owner for Odell Beckham Jr.? Because last week...
Are we talking short-term or long-term?
We're talking this season.
Okay.
Because last week his numbers were inflated with a passing touchdown. He did have a touchdown through the air for the first time all year. But last night you see it. It's all short plays. He has to stiff-arm somebody and then try to gain 8 yards. I mean, is he not a top 10 guy this year?
No, he's definitely a top 10 guy. I mean, I don't worry to that degree. You have to keep in mind what we're talking about with this offensive line. The Philadelphia pass rush, that defensive line is incredible, and that's part of why they couldn't. That's part of why Eli, every time he dropped back, was like, Saquon, where are you? And I don't think they're going to play that kind of pass rush every week. We've seen Odell Beckham have a handful of good games, only one dominant game, but I still see him as a top 10 fantasy wide receiver this season.
Well, they have to force feed him. He is before this past week, he was right at the number 10 on the season. He was only 6 for 44 last night, and I know fantasy owners were very frustrated. My feed was filled with Odell Beckham Jr. frustration because the talent is obviously there, the ability is obviously there, but the targets and the downfield targets are not there.
Between this game against the Eagles and their next matchup against the Eagles.
That's what I was going to – I was going to bring up their next matchup.
They play Atlanta,
yes,
Washington, San Francisco, Tampa Bay. So, you know, I'm not as worried about Eli or
would you target him after this down performance then?
Yeah, because
people are trying to trade him.
Yes, you can – I believe right now you can buy, especially because it was Thursday Night Football. It's one of those games where everyone's watching and the narratives are all overdone, and you're going to be able to get Odell Beckham on the cheap right now.
Okay, so maybe look for a guy that does blow up this next weekend. That's in that second tier. Maybe it's a Stephon Diggs, right? Would you swap Stephon Diggs for Odell Beckham Jr.?
That's tough because I think Stephon Diggs is a top 10
guy as well.
I would want to take someone like Robert Woods, my start of the week. If he explodes and you go, no,
look, it's possible because I've seen outrageous things happen on Twitter. But
people that have Odell that are worried, they think he's worthless. And so would you okay, maybe not Robert. What about Cooper Kupp, the number 2 wide receiver right now? Would you trade Cooper Kupp for Odell Beckham?
That's an interesting question. Because
what about
who would you rather have?
What about AJ Green?
I'd rather have AJ Green.
Yeah, I would rather have AJ Green.
We don't want Beckham.
No, we do.
I want Beckham.
He's a top 10 guy. He's not a top 5 guy.
That's the problem.
I want to trade basically a wide receiver 2 type with something else for Odell.
All right, we have a busy show today. The second half of the fantasy forecast, going through the rest of the matchups. We have in and out. We have the daily dose per usual, and we're going to get into all of it. And if you missed some of the matchups, they were on yesterday's show. Make sure you go back and listen, get all the way caught up so you're prepared to win. That's what the show's about. It's about equipping you to win and enjoy each and every week of fantasy football. That's why we're here year-round, because fantasy football is year-round, man.
Yeah. Never stops.
Never stops.
Can't stop, won't stop.
It's also Friday.
FootClan Friday.
Well, not only did Saquon have a delightful, wonderful yard reception last night, which was unbelievable. Best play I've seen this year was that reception. I saw the next-gen stats from NFL.com. The expected yard after catch for Saquon's reception was 14 yards, and he gained 55. And if you watch the kind of like the overhead view of how many people are around him, incredible. But not only did he have a 55-yard reception, we have a $55 gift card to give away to a FootClan Friday winner whose name is Brian McCarthy.
Thank you, Brian.
What a great name, Brian McCarthy. Congrats.
Yeah, what a name.
What a name. $55 coming your way.
Yeah, congratulations. A reminder, the Week 6 DFS podcast is up. Mike, Chris, and Ben recorded that yesterday.
Yep.
Get you ready for DFS in week number 6. And the signed Corey Davis jersey and championship belt at footclangiveaway.com. We're going to be wrapping that thing up real soon. So if you want a chance to win it, you want to get an entry in there, go to footclangiveaway.com. That's all you got to do. It'll make it nice and easy. Do you have any final thoughts as to last night? Anybody on the Philly side you want to jump in on the Corey Clement situation?
Yes, we should briefly touch on Corey Clement versus Wendell Smallwood. It came out right before the game that Philadelphia, after declaring how healthy and great Corey Clement has looked, that they are going to put him on a snap count. It happened. He played 36% of the snaps compared to Wendell Smallwood's 62%. But it is very clear, while Smallwood is fine and he is functional for the offense, Corey Clement is the much better runner with the extended, or not the faux bye that comes after a Thursday night game. Corey Clement is the running back from Philadelphia.
Clement is a far superior running back. He's better for their what they want to do. I think he's clearly the goal line guy. Got it yesterday. The worry is with them.
They will split.
Clearing cap space, I worry about them bringing in another running back. Whether that's LaShawn McCoy or someone else. But in the meantime, we can't know that. I do want Corey Clement. That's the back I want to make sure I've got.
Yeah, and when that news came out and the game started and Smallwood was getting all the carries, my hope was inside of the 20, it would be Clement. That's what it was. He had 3 receptions to Smallwood's 1, and he's the more talented player. They designed more plays for him in the screen game. So he got you a touchdown last night. So if you started him, then you freaked out, he saved you, 11 for 43, and then another 26 yards in the receiving game. Wentz was great. He's starting to kind of come around. Part of that probably is the Giants' lack of effort to a degree.
What is your outlook for Alshon Jeffrey? Because what we're used to from Alshon Jeffrey is 4 receptions, but huge yardage on those, like 4 for 70 with the possibility of a touchdown. However, he has turned into an absolute target monster. 12 targets in this game. He was over double-digit targets the past week, or close to.
I've been very impressed with him. I'm super impressed with the way they're utilizing him on design plays. Like, it's not just down the field. It's slant pass. It's at the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
The touchdown at the line of scrimmage and a screenplay at the line of scrimmage. So he's clearly the go-to guy in every way, shape, and form for this team. And outside of him, it's him and Ertz. Those are the guys that are going to 21 targets last night between the two of them. Nobody else had more than 5 all alone. I feel great about Jeffrey. Top 12 guy.
Yeah, I think you should feel, if you got him late, you're feeling great right now.
All right, let's get into some injuries.
What's it gonna be, McFly? Are you in or out?
All right, what do you guys think? Deshaun Watson?
He'll be in.
Yeah, he's dealing with that chest injury after he got
annihilated over and over and over and over and over.
But he will play.
At the running back position, Matt Breida?
Is doubtful. I don't expect him to play.
No, he's not going to play.
Isaiah Crowell?
This one's interesting. If he does not practice today, and we don't have news yet as we're recording, then he's in serious doubt if he doesn't practice Friday.
Ankle issue, did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. Wednesday it seemed like he'd be in. Now it's definitely you gotta wait.
You thought it was just rest after the big weekend.
Marshawn Lynch?
He'll play.
He always plays.
Adrian Peterson?
He will play too.
Chris Thompson?
I think he'll play.
Yeah, he's limited, so he'll play.
Devonta Freeman?
I do not believe he plays.
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook?
Hey, he's back.
It's weird. Look, I said on yesterday's show.
He's a medical mystery.
I think it would be a huge mistake to play him in this game. but he practiced in full. And if you're practicing in full, you're ready to go. So I think he does suit up. And if look, every time this year, with one exception, with the exception of Alshon, every player who is coming back for their first game after an injury has sucked, has destroyed your fantasy team. You don't want to do it. But the Arizona Cardinals are so bad. Do you play Dalvin Cook if he comes back?
I do. Full practice against Arizona, I'm going to play Dalvin.
I'm with you. Sony Michel?
Limited because of the knee. It's just resting, so he'll play.
All right, at the wide receiver position, in or out, Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks?
I believe both of them will be in. You got to keep monitoring, but they are progressing through the concussion protocol.
We're just going to stick with the team theme. Geronimo Allison, Randall Cobb?
Geronimo, yes, he has cleared the concussion protocol. He is dealing with a hamstring injury as well. I feel confident he will play. Randall Cobb,
no,
it's weird.
Randall Cobb is just look. His
body has betrayed him.
We've got 3 years of Randall Cobb is just always out.
Yeah,
that makes it easy. All the Texans wide receivers are in.
Yes.
So that would be Fuller, Hopkins, Cutie.
Mark.
Sneaky Kiki. Marquise Goodwin.
Practicing in full, probably in, and I still don't want him.
And Pierre Garçon.
He's questionable. He did not practice on Thursday, but I don't know that anyone's actually playing him outside of a really deep league or dynasty league.
I'll jump in here at the tight end position. George Kittle. He didn't practice on Wednesday. He was limited Thursday. I think they didn't expect him to practice maybe either day and still was going to play him, so I think he's in.
Yeah, I would say in as well.
Eric Ebron with the shin, quad, ankle.
Shin, ankle, knee, and quad.
Knee and quad.
Shin, ankle, knee, and quad.
He still didn't practice Thursday, but I think this is just rest. They have to have him. They don't have anybody else.
Jack Doyle.
Doubtful.
Yeah, he's dealing with a major hip issue.
Greg Olson's supposed to play.
Yeah, let's see what he can do.
Someone asked me Cameron Brate or Greg Olson.
Cameron Brate.
I agree with you. Rudolph for Olsen, you play Rudolph. You play anybody that you think you can rely on other than Olsen to see what you get in Olsen.
Exactly.
Jimmy Graham.
In.
And then I guess O.J. Howard had limited practices. He's going to be out, though, isn't he?
That's bizarre. I mean, he had the sprained MCL. This does not match up with the normal recovery timeline, so I'm still expecting to be out despite the practices.
I do, too. But I worry. Like, if he's in, all the Cameron Brate love is like, Cameron Brate can still have a great game with O.J. Howard there, but I don't love it as much. All of a sudden, I would flip that and say, okay, Greg Olsen, you're in.
How is Howard's shin, quad, and ankle? So his knee is banged up, but everything else is good?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, don't forget, this is our prequel to some final injury decisions. You can see our final results with the game day alerts at jointhefoot.com. An hour before Sunday kickoff. Mike will also be live.
We're doing it live!
On YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Periscope, Twitch. Follow us everywhere. I mean, imagine a world where you're watching Mike live on 5 platforms at the same time.
That's incredible.
It's awesome.
It is.
Thank you, Brooks.
I even think, the Instagram's a slightly different angle. I mean, you could.
It is.
This haircut, you could just diagnose.
We need to get each platform with a slightly different angle and then set up a TV system where you can watch Mike in the round.
Like Max Headroom?
Mike in the round?
Oh, man. You've never had a better idea in your life.
Thank you.
Before we get to the rest of the matches,
debatable.
Want to thank today's sponsors, Simply Safe. Here's why I'm a big fan of Simply Safe Home Security. They are ready for anything that gets thrown at it. Storm takes out your power. Simply Safe is ready. If an intruder cuts your phone line, Simply Safe is ready. Say they destroy your keypad or siren, Simply Safe will get you the help you need. And here's what I love about this. Maybe it's overkill. Maybe you don't need to be ready for the worst case scenario, but Simply Safe is ready. They're all about it, keeping you safe, keeping you protected, and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. It should, but it doesn't. That's because they're good people. They charge you what's fair, what's right. $14.99 a month, no contract, no hidden fees. I recommend Simply Safe to everyone I know. You got to check it out. You can go today to simplysafe.com/footballers. That's SIMPLISAFE.com. Simplysafe.com/footballers. Get yourself protected.
And we also want to thank maybe Brooks' very favorite office treat here, and that is RX Bar.
Yes, it's true.
I mean, I think he's addicted at this point. But look, Brooks, RX Bar believes in the power of transparency and lets the core ingredients do all the talking. That's why they list them right on the front of the packaging. Brooks loves transparency.
He does.
They're the ones that use egg whites for protein, dates to bind, nuts for texture, other delicious ingredients like unsweetened chocolate, real fruits, spices like sea salt and cinnamon. There's 14 delicious flavors like mango, pineapple, chocolate chip, peanut butter, and other seasonal flavors. And I'm going to be honest with you, I love them too.
Yeah, no,
it's
they're
not
fantastic.
just Brooks. They're
I was
really
about
good.
to say, this isn't just Brooks.
No, just Brooks' love is beyond measure,
Yes.
and he doesn't leave us very many of them. But they're gluten-free, soy-free, free of artificial flavors and preservatives. We love them. They taste great. They're perfect for that little afternoon pick-me-up before a workout, all that. For 25% off your first order, visit rxbar.com/footballers and enter the promo code footballers at checkout. That's rxbar.com/footballers.
Fantasy Forecast.
Brooks changed the spelling of his name, actually.
Yeah?
There's not an S at the end anymore.
What is it?
An X.
Oh, okay.
Because he loves RX bars.
Okay.
It's just BRX.
Yeah.
Because of the RX bar.
That should be
It's
his
Brooks.
license plate.
Well, that makes my autograph even easier.
Have we ever told that story?
I don't know.
Your autograph is just a capital, all capital word Brooks. That's not an autograph, Brooks.
Oh, it is.
We go to our live shows. We have meet and greets afterwards. People often bring whatever it might be, have us sign it, the photographs. And a lot of the times, I would say like the majority of the time, people are like, we got to get Brooks in this picture because they actually get to see Brooks. And they're like, okay, sign this thing. And we all sign it like, we're signing a check.
A grown-up signature.
I don't know, like an autograph. And then Brooks just writes in all capitals,
Brooks. Hey.
I mean, it's
definitely the easiest one to make out.
It's got to be BRX now, Brooks, or I'll be
BRX.
real disappointed.
All right, fantasy forecast again. Remember, yesterday's show had the Bucks, Falcons, Steelers, Bengals, Chargers, Browns, Bills, Texans, Bears, Dolphins, and Cardinals, Vikings previews, fantasy matchups. So, if you didn't hear those today, don't get mad at us. They're there. Just
Yesterday.
All right, a reminder, the Saints, the Lions, they're on bye. Let's start with this matchup here. The 1-4 Colts take on the 2-3 Jets in New York. The Jets are 2.5-point favorites. It's a 45-point over-under. Jason, what's the biggest decision fantasy owners need to make in this specific matchup?
Well, I think it starts with Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck has not looked great, but has at the end of the game been a pretty fine play most of these weeks. And when you are down T.Y. Hilton, down one of your pass-catching backs in Marlon Mack, down one of your top targets in Jack Doyle, can you really trust Andrew Luck? Now,
is Marlon Mack back? I mean, he's practicing in full.
I
think he's going to play.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I guess he could have Mack back.
Return of the Mac.
Last week it took garbage time, right? Because they were down big. But are they going to be down big to the Jets? I mean, I know the Jets just, destroyed the Broncos in New York. But I don't think that this is one of those games where the Jets destroy the Colts. This is probably a lower scoring game. And so I don't think you're going to see the same. Eric Ebron was my start of the week last week. Obviously, that worked out well. He was great. I don't think you're going to see the same type of game from Ebron, from Luck. So I temper my expectations there.
This matchup is fascinating to me. I think because there's a lot of fantasy implications of things moving towards the future. You have Nyheim Hines, who has been the pass catcher, been a lot more than that for the Colts. But now Marlon Mack is back. Does Marlon Mack assume the massive volume on the ground? We're not sure. Over on the Jets side of the ball, Quincy Enunwa, they're changing how they're using him with Jermaine Kearse returning to full health. That turned into only 5 targets. Now he got shut out. But that's why Quincy was so safe, was the targets were there. Meanwhile, Robbie Anderson possibly had a breakout game. This game seems like nothing is going on. There's no juiciness for fantasy, but it's extremely interesting to me.
I will say this. The Jets are probably down 2 of their starting secondary players, so that's a little bit more interesting when it comes to the Andrew Luck, maybe Chester Rogers.
Yeah, I'll play Chester Rogers.
Nyheim Hines is the more interesting storyline. I've seen him traded in a lot of leagues. I think people are cashing in on the value. He got a lot of work last week, but that does not mean he gets it again, especially between the tackles. The passing game work might be there, but between the tackles, he was pretty rough, and Jordan Wilkins was a lot better. And if Marlon Mack comes back, it doesn't help Hines, no doubt about it. If you have another competent player that the team was talking up before the season, it doesn't help him. So anything else you want to touch here? I mean, we talked about Isaiah Crowell and the potential injury. Bilal Powell, look,
Powell becomes a great play.
He does. And Isaiah Crowell, he's been a ping pong ball. I mean, 22 points, 5 points, 19 points, 1 point, 30 points. Look, this is when it normally it goes back down, and if he doesn't play, he certainly can't play him. So
certainly.
Powell has double-digit touches in all 5 games in spite of Crowell's big games, so he becomes the must-start play here if Crowell's out.
Yeah, 100%. And
if Crowell plays, do you play him? The matchup is not scary for Crowell, but dealing with the ankle, are you willing to play him as a running back 3 flex?
I think
running back 3 flex, yeah.
Most people want to.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's a difficult question.
And then the only other name I would throw out, Robbie Anderson. Look,
it's a mirage, guys.
He's maxed out. Robbie Anderson is maxed out at 3 receptions in a game. Like, that's the most he's had this year. He's done it twice.
I think chasing Robbie Anderson is a huge mistake. You can't – a guy who's run 15 routes in a game, you're just – I would choose, like, I don't know, 60 other players to try to hit home runs with. I mean, I get it. He's a super – I've been the advocate of Robbie Anderson all offseason because of the pure talent of the guy.
My only
but I can't – it would be pure point chasing here to me.
Darnold only threw the ball 22 times. So I'm –
yeah, he did, but if you're running the ball,
I'm just saying if the attack on Robbie, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but saying like, okay, well, he only ran 15 routes, they didn't have to throw the ball. I mean, what was he running when Darnold threw the ball 41 times or 34?
Yeah. And part of the reason he didn't run a lot of routes is because when he ran those routes and caught the touchdown bomb, the drive's over.
Sure.
I will. The only reason I want to bring him up is because of the Colts. I think this is a win. This is a you can beat them deep matchup. Right.
Yeah, but would you say that about the Browns or the Dolphins? I mean, I'm just sharing with you.
Yeah, no.
You're playing a game here that doesn't result in a mediocre performance. You're playing a game that ends in 2 points, 1 point, 2 points.
Correct.
So you can go for the home run, but your odds of ending up with a 0 are high.
Yes,
I mean,
I completely agree.
That's fair.
The question for me is more of, is Sam Darnold, has he turning a corner as a quarterback and realizing that you can actually go deep?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I doubt it, but maybe. 2-3 Seahawks, 1-4 Raiders. Raiders are 3-point underdogs at home, 48-point over-under.
Home.
This game's in London.
Quote.
Yeah, yes, they're in London. This is true. So they're 3-point roadish underdogs. We know that the Seahawks are running the ball aplenty. It's hurt Russell Wilson tremendously.
Personally,
they're not winning. I mean, they're 2-3. I don't know if you said on the show a couple of days ago, you're like, it's working. It's working in respect to fantasy value for the running backs. It's working in respect to, they're running the ball well. But that hasn't translated to wins necessarily. I think they need to put more on Russell Wilson. They need to use Doug Baldwin, who practiced in full this week. Tyler Lockett's had the big plays. What are you watching for here? I mean, is this a game where because of the Raiders and their defense, which has been susceptible both to the running back and the quarterback, are you starting Russell Wilson here?
Jason, I'll let you field this one.
Yeah, I think Russell Wilson could be started here, that you can beat the Raiders, but I do expect this to be both teams rushing the ball well. I'm curious, do either of you know which stadium this is in? I haven't looked into that.
I'm pretty sure it's in Wembley.
And okay, so Wembley's the one with the terrible field.
Yeah, but Evan Silva tweeted out 12 of the last 18 games in London have produced 47 or more points. So it's not stopping the scoring from pouring down.
Yeah, no. But I'm saying from the running game, sometimes can I expect matchup wise, right? This to be a Marshawn Lynch against Chris Carson and Mike Davis, slow the clock down, which hurts points. But on that field,
speed the clock up.
Yeah, speed the clock up, slow the game down, whatever. But on that field, they might not be able to find as much success as they will airing it out with, say, Hard Lockett.
Tyler Lockett's season, if you want to know, it's 100% my fault. I mean, the guy, he has never been this accidentally consistent. And then I traded him in our league of record before the season. I think I dropped him, actually.
Yes.
I dropped him to swap out for something. I think I rostered 2 kickers for like a day or something stupid.
Tyler Lockett is...
And now he's here to curse me.
He got paid, and he's actually coming through. I mean, this is outrageous.
Do you like Lockett or Baldwin, head-to-head? Who do you start?
I'm still starting Baldwin.
Yeah, I would as well.
On the other side, Amari Cooper, are you starting him?
I mean...
If you have to.
Oh, yeah, if you got to start him, you can start him. The
Seahawks are giving up 32.5 fantasy points a game to the wide receiver position this year. Amari Cooper, Jordy Nelson, Jared Cook. Not the best matchup for Cook, but Cook's kind of an auto start right now based on his performance this year. Jason, do you have any other thoughts on this one?
Yeah, my only way in is on Cooper. I think this is a matchup that you can find success. You can feel free to put him in your lineup. Just make sure you do it last minute so he thinks he's on your bench.
It's very important. You got
people tried that last week, Jason. It didn't work.
No. Last week we said to sit him. It was the week prior that we said to start him. Last week it was Casey Hayward, and we made Jordy Nelson the start of the week.
3-1 Panthers, 2-2 Redskins. I don't know what the Redskins are. I have no idea. They've gone back and forth between looking good and terrible. Like there's no middle ground here. It's not like they're in a tight matchup. It's they get blown out or they seem to show up.
I feel like they're bad. I really do. I mean, I
Who's
said that
better,
before
the
the season.
Titans or the Redskins?
I think the Titans are better than the Redskins. I don't think the Redskins are a good team.
Redskins, they
got off to such a hot start week 1 against Arizona, and I think it just kind of skewed what we believe in them. But it was Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, then they lost to the Colts, but then they came back and got a big win, and then they come out of the bye and have a big loss. This game's at home, 44.5 point over-under. They're 1-point favorites against the Panthers.
That's something.
So if Adrian Peterson, Chris Thompson, we said we thought they'd both
the
play.
The whole team is questionable. By the way,
I mean,
for
there's
Washington.
just not a lot of excitement around starting an offensive piece. In my opinion, the only guy I really want to start if he's healthy and active is Chris Thompson, because I feel like he is the one that's guaranteed to be utilized if he's healthy and on the field.
I would still be perfectly confident starting Jordan Reed. I realize he had a putrid game with 1 reception last week, but Jordan Reed is still a better option than most of the middling, second half, the tight ends 7 through 12. I'd rather start Reed.
It's a lot easier on the other side of the ball. You're starting Cam Newton. Washington has given up multiple touchdowns to quarterbacks every week, except for, the one where they played Sam Bradford. And then Christian McCaffrey has been amazing. I've tried to target him in a number of leagues unsuccessfully. But I just feel like his floor is so high. Even on a bad week like last week started, he had very few points through the first half of the game. Didn't matter.
Washington's allowing nearly 7 receptions a game to the running back position as well. Christian McCaffrey, you had no concerns about starting him, but he is going to be very successful this week. Meanwhile, the wide receivers for Carolina, I'm avoiding them if at all possible. Even the scrumptious one. I mean, I don't want to see him faced up against Norman and the Washington DBs. They're holding wide receivers in check.
And you're definitely starting Cam in this matchup.
Except for Traquan Smith, of course.
Obviously, on the road.
Heck yeah.
Line them up, put them out there. I'm surprised that they are favorites.
I am too.
I would have thought, heads up, I get it.
I mean, I'm going to take Carolina to win.
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like my picks were in. This is a 5-star. Carolina's going away with the victory here.
Wide receivers on Carolina are like downgraded versions of the Jags wideouts. So not only can you not guess who will perform on a week-to-week basis, but even if they do perform, it's not that good.
Right, yeah.
It's just
Crowder's going to have the best game. He's going to get 5 for 55.
You're talking on the Washington
both
side.
wide receiver course.
Both sides of the ball here. You don't really want. And I will say this, Funchess at the very end of last week, you got overshadowed by Graham Gano's 63-yard awesome kick. Man, I love kickers. But he pulled something and ran to the sideline and was hurt. I've been trying to find – I haven't found much news on that, but I do worry a little bit about that because it was so late in the game. I'm avoiding all wide receivers here, both sides.
The 5-0 Rams take on the 2-3 Broncos in Denver. The Broncos are 7-point home underdogs. Oof. 52.5 point over-under. In a game with that kind of line, the Broncos defense has been bad. This is a changeover. And I think a lot of people thought, hey, they've always had this defense that can get it done, and that'll be enough. Because if you have a game manager like Case Keenum with a good defense, you're set up to succeed. The problem has been the defense has been bad, and you've put Case Keenum in a position where he has to be more than a game manager. He has to be a player capable of taking you back, bringing you back, and he hasn't been capable of doing so. You look at this team and you say, who are my starts here in Denver? I mean, Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman, at the end of the day, no matter how good you say one guy is, Phillip Lindsay is getting plenty of work. He's been double-digit carries the last few weeks. The last 2 weeks, he's been about 6 a carry. Are you confident starting Royce Freeman or Phillip Lindsay in this matchup against the Rams? The Rams have been
Lindsay, yes.
Okay.
Freeman, no.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I think you can start Freeman in a pinch as a running back 3, as a flex option if you need to, because he's really talented. He can get a touchdown, but he scares me because of getting game scripted out. If the Rams start boat racing the Broncos, then you're going to see Phillip Lindsay and Devonta Booker. And so Phillip Lindsay, I am fine starting in this matchup.
I actually think the Broncos cover in this one. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. That is, you have some question marks with Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks, and their health. We do expect them to be back out there. And look, the Broncos defense hasn't been great. They've allowed a quarterback 1 performance in 3 of their 5 matchups. Goff is somebody that, look, the weapons are just there. I don't have any problem starting Goff myself, but I think it's going to be a little bit closer than people expect.
I picked the Broncos to cover as well. So I don't think it's going to be a boat race, but obviously anytime you're playing against the Rams, it could be.
Where does that expression come from?
A boat race?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, Brooks, do you have any insights here?
No clue.
I think it's factual information that boat races are very uneven all the time.
Really? No, they're never close.
No, never.
So when you boat race
it's
somebody,
always just because it's always a speedboat versus a pontoon boat.
Yeah,
really.
The pontoon just takes it every time.
The boat racing community is really not one you want to be a part of.
They make you. Oh, so what happens is you don't actually own the boats. 2 drivers get up there and you flip a coin. One of you gets the speedboat. One of you gets the pontoon boat.
Pirate ship versus yacht. I mean, this is just how
this
they
is
do
how.
it.
Wow.
I'm on Wikipedia right now.
Also, one of the reasons I think the Broncos could be a little bit safer here if you're playing Emmanuel Sanders or Demaryius Thomas, even Cortland Sutton, Marcus Peters. So the Rams were looking like an unbelievable defense until that week where Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib went down. Now, Aqib Talib is out. He went to IR. Marcus Peters was back the next week, surprisingly. Everyone thought he was going to miss like a month. He should have.
Right.
And maybe he still has missed a month. This was a tweet from Jeff Ratcliffe. Marcus Peters, the last 3 weeks, he's been targeted 17 times. Of those 17 targets, he's given up 14 receptions for 255 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, it's not been good. It's not been good, and because of that, I'm okay playing Thomas coming off of the big game And Emmanuel Sanders is also Jason, do you still play Emmanuel Sanders every week?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he's a weekly starter to me right now for sure.
In a sporting event, the team getting out to an early lead and coasting home. Some synonyms to boat racing. Ready? Blowout, cakewalk, domination, and beatdown.
It's not Titanic related.
Cakewalk is what I would associate with, like if you see Jason's League of Record team on your schedule.
Oh, my gosh. You freaking turds.
I'm going to take a walk and eat some cake.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of those ones you have to keep drilling down. Okay, what's a boat race? Oh, a boat race is a cakewalk. Okay, well, what's a cakewalk?
Playing Jason's team.
Oh,
And then that's where we all finish.
anything else in this matchup right now?
No, I don't think so.
We got to move on. 3-2 Jags take on the 2-3 Cowboys in Dallas. The Cowboys a 3-point home dogs, a 40.5-point over-under in this one. Says not a lot of points on the board potentially. Look, the Russian roulette of Keelan Cole, Dante Moncrief, and Dede Westbrook, it's kind of crazy, right? Because all of these guys are talented. All of these guys have ability. Dede Westbrook, do you realize he's on pace for 80 receptions and over 1,100 yards?
Wow.
On the season?
Good
Doesn't-
for you, Dede.
So when you hear
Doesn't
that,
feel like it.
when you hear that, don't you say that's an every week start type of player?
Mm-hmm.
So why are you not starting Dede Westbrook?
Because it comes in bunches.
I
I mean, it's not. I don't feel like it's consistent.
Okay, well, let me read you his stat lines.
Okay.
Okay, and mind you, you're not wrong because he's the 33rd ranked wideout, so that pace doesn't seem to matter.
Yeah, he's had 2 big weeks.
7, yeah, I mean 5 for 51, 4 for 82, and a touchdown. 3 for 31, 9 for 130, 3 for 55.
Yeah,
It's the lack of
his
touchdowns.
Well, not just
Yeah,
lack of touchdowns.
no, you're right. That's what it
'Cause
is
if-
for a
if-
fantasy perspective.
If your receiver came through with 5 for 51 and a score, you'd be like, yeah, that's a great week.
2 of the last 3 weeks, he's had 3 receptions for 31 yards and 3 for 55. That's not good.
But if he had scored on either of those weeks, you'd be thinking differently about him.
Yeah.
Like on the season, he may be on pace for 80 and 1,100 and 3. And then all of a sudden you're like, I might have a better option.
Yeah, this is a game where you have 2 good defense. I actually think that Dallas
This is my
defense,
almost upset of the week.
Yeah?
I don't disagree.
So Dallas'
it'll be close.
defense has impressed me. I think that they are they're a legit defense. Obviously, Jacksonville's defense is one of, if not the best in the league. And you have 2 struggling quarterbacks. You know, you've got Blake Bortles and Dak Prescott. They can get it done with their legs. They do enough to be fantasy relevant.
Well, Dak doesn't.
But they're not great.
Dak definitely doesn't. Dak is one of the worst fantasy quarterbacks in the league. He's sitting there at 25th on the league, averaging 16 points a game. I looked at him earlier this week, specifically like, hey, I need a streamer in Listener League.
Right.
And then I saw Dak Prescott, and then I said, ew.
Yeah, my point in all this is I don't really want anyone in this game that's not a running back. Because I think because there's 2 good defenses with 2 mediocre quarterbacks, what's going to happen in this game? Like, who's going to really explode? I don't see it
So
happening.
T.J. Yeldon, Ezekiel Elliott, and move on.
Exactly.
And
next matchup.
for the rundown, Jacksonville targets, if you are playing roulette, Moncrief, this is the last through 5 weeks. Moncrief 37, Keelan Cole 34, Dede Westbrook 33, T.J. Yeldon 32, and that's why it's hard to pick them.
Yeah, now you've got Niles Paul as the tight end option there. Okay, if you need a deep streamer.
Yeah, I
don't
think
love it.
he's a flyer.
Yeah.
3-2 Ravens take on the 3-2 Titans. Titans are 2.5-point underdogs at home. This is a 41-point over-under. The Ravens just lost to the Browns last week. I think they win this game. And my question to you is, can you trust Alex Collins in this matchup against the Tennessee Titans? The Titans' defense has been good. I mean, they're only giving up 14.7 fantasy points per game to the running back position, but they give up yardage. So what are you doing with Alex Collins? He seems like one of the hardest players to own right now.
Yeah, he is, and this isn't a matchup that I want. It's not a great matchup from the standpoint of they've been good against the running back. It's also not a good matchup from the standpoint of it's probably going to be a lower scoring game. So Alex Collins, who, yes, he's had double-digit, but right at the double-digit, 12 carries, 11 carries the last 2 weeks. It's just going to be a mediocre you can put him in there, and he might get you 10 fantasy points. And sometimes that's exactly what you need for that third running back or flex option on your team. But, for instance, I would rather play Philip Lindsay than Alex Collins. That's kind of
Collins or Bilal Powell.
Powell, especially, obviously, if Crowell is out.
Alex Collins or Austin Eckler.
Alex Collins.
Okay. Your line is still there. What about
Austin Eckler has, I'm assuming, outscored him in every single week.
I assume so
I'm
as well.
pretty sure that's where it's like you're still leaning on the volume because you don't want the zero. That's kind of the thought process there.
I mean, Alex Collins has been okay. In a half-point scoring format, you look at the last several weeks, 11 points, 16 points, 10 points, 8.3. It's certainly not what you're hoping for, but he has not been a bust.
Collins or Lamar Miller?
I would go Collins.
In leagues where they give a bonus for being Alex Collins, he's actually performed
He's been
exceptionally.
Yeah, he's been outstanding.
Above average. John Brown, can you start him in this matchup against the Titans defense? I'm really on the fence with John Brown. Help me make a decision in my league of record here. I'm staring down John Brown, Philip Lindsay, who we just talked about,
Right.
or Corey Davis in this matchup, right? Corey Davis has had one really good start, and really he hasn't been that good from a fantasy production standpoint. Even though the targets have been there and he's the number one guy, the Titans' offense has been inconsistent, and because of that, Davis has the one blow-up game. So what do you do if you're me?
I would rather play John Brown over Corey Davis.
Okay, that's where I'm at.
I'm not messing around with the Ravens' defense with Jimmy Smith back. So you're looking at John Brown or Philip Lindsay.
John Brown had 14 targets last week. 14. He only caught 4 of them.
That's pretty bad.
But they were downfield targets, obviously. He's getting every opportunity. He's obviously Joe Flacco's favorite friend. So, John,
You're my favorite friend.
my favorite friend, John. But, I mean, the 14 targets is what's drawing me towards John Brown over Philip Lindsay.
I lean John Brown.
All right. Well, I mean, you didn't stray me wrong last week. I went Galladay over about 5 of these guys, and it worked out.
Are you still playing Buck Allen? Jason.
I've seen him in a lot of lineups.
I see Buck Allen as everything I said about Alex Collins is true about Buck Allen, and I would rather start Alex Collins over Buck Allen.
Do you buy into any of the Hayden Hurst hype? That's
No.
the Triple H.
No, I love it. I hope it happens. I mean, he was my second favorite tight end coming into this draft behind Dallas Goedert, but there's too many different tight ends to target there. I hope he breaks out. I'm not picking him up. I'm not making a hopeful stash.
Does he hurt John Brown? Michael Crabtree?
He could hurt Crabtree. I don't think he hurts John Brown because he's not really the field stretcher. The air yards are what has been so impressive with John Brown. That's not what Hayden Hurst is really going to get. I mean, since week 2, the number 2 person in the league in air yards, Nuke Hopkins, has 736 air yards.
Yeah.
John Brown
nice.
is number 1 with 824.
Woo! Man, just run him deep and let Flacco chuck it up.
Exactly.
14 times for 4 catches. Okay, yeah, I feel like I missed something with Hayden Hurst because while I liked what I saw in the preseason, the fact that you have Williams, Andrews, and Boyle, I'm just like, I don't understand why you would lock into him to the degree you could start Hayden Hurst.
Yeah,
No.
You're not starting him. What
And
about
Deion Lewis, Derrick Henry?
That's where I was going to go. Anyone from the Titans? Lewis is the only player I'm interested in playing, and my interest is not very strong.
No, I would much rather start Alex Collins than Lewis here.
Remember Malcolm Butler?
I do.
I do, yeah. Super Bowl
hero.
Yeah.
Just not
This
this
season.
last year.
He's allowed 405 yards, including 4 touchdowns. That's the most yards allowed by a cornerback in football, and he's the 81st ranked cornerback according to Pro Football Focus.
Maybe there was
That
a
is-
reason he didn't play in the Super Bowl.
I was saying maybe there's a reason the Patriots didn't want to pay him. My goodness. The fluctuation for some of these. You talked about Casey Hayward yesterday.
Yeah.
Some of these Marcus Peters has been trash.
Yeah, I brought this up with Mike before while you were gone, Andy. Is that you got to with cornerbacks? They come on strong quick, and a lot of times they leave quick. So I try to pay attention to the ones that are the new hotness rather than just this guy's. If you start to lose it at cornerback, it seems to fall off. Quick.
And that's why. And I realized last week he had a good performance, but that's why I don't agree with Mike's Joe Hayden takes from yesterday's, because Joe Hayden, his best days are definitely behind him. He's not a bad corner anymore, but he's not a world beater.
Agreed.
So the Chiefs at 5-0 take on the 3-2 Patriots. Who's excited for this one?
Oh, everybody.
Patriots are 3.5-point home favorites.
NBC is very excited.
Look,
Yes.
They're the most excited out of anybody.
59.5-point over-under.
Is
that the highest
over.
on the year?
That is without a doubt the highest on the year, and I took the over.
You took the over. Now, Patrick Mahomes, for all of his wonder and awe, has one touchdown pass in the past 2 weeks.
What a loser.
Now, he's ranked, according to the consensus that I've seen, as the #1 quarterback on the week. I've seen Brady at 2, and I think I agree with that. But Brady at home, does he deserve more credit? Like if you had to choose between these two, would you rather have Brady at home or would you rather have Mahomes?
I would rather have what my rankings say, which is Brady.
I would rather have Brady.
I've got Mahomes as my #3 quarterback on the week. This game's going to be great. But, I mean, this is I can't wait for this game. But to have Bill Belichick scheming against Mahomes, and I think there's going to be some mistakes made, but both teams will be able to score without a doubt.
The Chiefs have allowed the most attempts per game this year, the most 20-plus yard completions in the league. They showed up a little bit last week. We expected more from the Borderling. But this is Tom Brady, and he's got James White, and he's got Julian Edelman, he's got Josh Gordon, he's got Chris Hogan, he's got Rob Gronkowski. Light them all up, right? I mean, you're starting. Are you starting Gordon?
If you're desperate, Josh Gordon is still not to the point where
it's the snap counts that you're concerned about.
Josh
Exactly.
Gordon, I would start him this week. This is if you can't start him against the Chiefs when there's going to be 100 freaking points put up in this game, how he doesn't get free for one of these necessary bombs. I'm not saying he's a must start. He's not like take a quality player out of your lineup. But when you're deciding, as most people with Josh Gordon are always deciding, okay, do I do this, shot, this guy, this middling tier, who should I flex? This is the week where I'm taking the shot on Josh Gordon.
And is there any question marks on the other side of the ball at all? I mean, Sammy Watkins, if this game's got an over-under like that, are you okay starting him?
Yes.
Yeah, you start all the
players.
All the main guys. I'm not starting Chris Conley, but Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt,
Kareem Hunt's been very good lately.
And not only has he been good, but you know what we haven't had this season? He hasn't been Andy Reided. His carry count.
Well, he was. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, where he just vanishes
where all
for
of a sudden he gets
carries.
6 carries in a game. This is his carry count on the season, and this is my favorite thing about Kareem Hunt. Let me read them off. 16, 18, 18, 19, 22. I mean, that's the dream. You want a running back getting over 15 carries a game. Fantastic.
I'd like the targets to go up, but hard to argue with that volume.
All right, on Monday Night Football. By the way, last week 26% was the snap count for Josh Gordon. So you can compare that Robbie Anderson last week, because those maybe you look at them similar. 52% snap count for Robbie Anderson.
That's a perfect comp. I would rather play Josh Gordon over Robbie Anderson.
I think we see more upside to the long term.
Yes.
Josh Gordon, better quarterback, better opportunity for him to, have a big play against that defense. The 1-4 49ers play on Monday Night Football against the 2-1 Packers. Packers are 9.5-point Lambeau favorites here at a 46.5-point over-under. We don't expect Matt Breida to play. There was a report yesterday that he was not limping, that he looked pretty good, and that this, not a high ankle sprain. But if he's out, is Alfred Morris, would you rather play Alfred Morris or Alex Collins this week?
Alfred Morris if Breida is out. I would rather have the guy that's not splitting work, and I don't think that the Packers are incredible against the run. They're top third, but they're not. When it comes to matchups, you really only need to look at the extremes, right? Like, who are the top 5 defenses against the position? When you're in that 9 to 22 range, they're all so close together.
Well, and you're only in week 6, so those numbers are going to fluctuate a little bit more. I think you can make a more definitive determination when they're at the extremes, at least right now in the season. I agree with that. Are you thinking about outside of George Kittle? Because if you have Kittle, you're starting Kittle.
Yes.
He's been great.
Start of the week.
But outside of him, you're not really looking at any other 49er here besides Morris and Kittle.
Morris, and if you're desperate and you're in a PPR, I do think you can put Kyle Juszczyk in.
I guess we've talked about that.
I think he will get enough passing work
with Breida out.
Yes.
Yeah.
What if Breida is a surprise active and you rostered? Let's say a lot of people rostering Breida and Morris.
Right.
All right, you're staring them down like Clement and Smallwood from last night. So if you're staring them down and you've got an active Matt Breida, are you starting him over Morris?
No, I'm starting Alex Collins over both of those guys.
Well, you won't get that choice on Monday. You won't get that choice on Monday night. That's my point. Is you're walking into Monday Night Football.
What is that answer?
I don't know.
It's like,
That's
would
not
you
helpful.
play Breida or Morris? I'll play Collins.
Alex Collins.
I'll eat a banana.
Alex Collins has been our barometer test of this
but
show.
It's a terrible, 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 terrible answer because I just asked you if you're starting Morris or Collins. You said Morris.
Yes.
This is a Monday night game. You do not get to go back in time and start Collins. If you had Morris and Breida, Mike,
by
who
Sunday,
would you start?
I'd play Morris.
Thank you.
If by Sunday there are legitimate rumors that it looks like maybe Matt Breida is going to be there, I would plug Alex Collins in my lineup as opposed to hoping for Alfred Morris by himself.
And
that's my point.
And perchance you're sitting there on Monday and you have to decide between Morris or Breida.
Alex Collins.
All right. Thanks. All right. The Packers have a trifecta of annoying running back options. Aaron Jones, who, by the way, I don't know if you guys had read this, observed this. Aaron Jones is grading far better than Jamal Williams in pass protection this year.
Is he?
Yes. And so all of the Jamal Williams needs to be out there for pass protection. All of the, the head coach's lack of willingness to give Aaron Jones enough snaps, enough work to make him fantasy dominant. They're going up in smoke, at least by a Pro Football Focus pass protection grade. Can you start any of these guys? I mean, the matchup is glorious. This is a home matchup where you're heavy favorites. Running the football should be part of the equation here.
Because of the matchup, I think you could start Aaron Jones, but I would not want to because if it turns out that Jamal Williams has twice as many carries, I don't think anyone would be surprised. So I would prefer to not start any of these running backs, but in a pinch, Aaron Jones could suffice.
Aaron Jones or Alex Collins?
Yes, great
Matt
question.
Breida.
100% Matt Breida. No, it would be Alex Collins for sure.
For sure. Okay. Devontae Adams?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, locked in.
Yeah,
I don't care if he's injured like last week, whatever. He's fantastic.
He's a fantasy monster
Jimmy
right now.
Graham, you're obviously starting him. The real question comes with who is that wide receiver 2?
I think my approach to this team would be if you have Adams, you start Adams, and then if you have any of the other guys, I'm probably not playing the Monday Night Roulette with them. I understand, Allison is kind of the one that I think if you think he's active, maybe you're saving a spot for him, but I think most teams have options. I mean, you're probably not going to start. You're not going to start Cobb. You're not going to start Valdez-Scantling.
I've got a situation in deeper league where I've got both Geronimo and I picked up Marquez Valdez.
Well, then you're covered.
You're covered.
And I'm playing one of those two guys.
Yeah,
but
that's fine.
For example, in the league of record, I have Geronimo, and your point about the Monday night scenario for the Green Bay Packers, it does make it a lot trickier to rely on Geronimo, because if you get into Monday night and I don't have a backup and Geronimo is out, I mean, that's a terrible, terrible feeling. So if you can avoid Geronimo and you're not like Jason where you have both Geronimo and Scantling,
would you be willing to cut
Alex Collins?
Would you be willing to cut a decent but cuttable wide receiver to pick up a Valdez-Scantling so that you can make the choice there?
Not me. Not with the fact that
not.
I mean Valdez-Scantling, yes, he scored, but he wasn't a target monster or anything. He's not guaranteed production. I love the Packers' defense in this game, and one of the things I really regret is I normally try to grab a defense ahead of time if I don't have a lot of fab. I had the Packers. I had to let them go. Somebody paid $4 a fab, so I didn't get them back.
He did have 10 targets.
Yeah, he had 7.
Didn't he have 2 receptions?
No,
something like
seven
that?
receptions
You're thinking
for
of-
68 yards.
You're thinking of
touchdown.
EQ.
I think I was, yeah.
Yeah. No, Scantling was very involved, had the score, almost had 2.
But they were in a much different game script
Yes,
than
that's
we
fair.
project in
Yes.
this game. All right, well, without further ado, we'll move on.
The Daily Dose, brought to you by Draft.
All right, to close out the show, we are doing a head-to-head daily dose, a draft. We do it every Friday, and Jason's got the first pick. We're doing QB only this week, and Jason has already jumped on the board. He grabbed Tom Brady.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got we know who is going now. I mean, you've got a game that has so many points that are going to be scored. You want in on that matchup. I was worried that I was going to have the third pick because I want one of those two guys.
Yeah, you went Tom Brady. I took Patrick Mahomes.
Understandable. I went with Rodgers and Matt Ryan. I think, look, you got great matchups, got great situations. So Mike's back on the clock.
That means I'm taking
Really?
Jared Goff.
Jared Goff.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
goodness.
People have no idea what we're talking about.
You need to go to Twitter because we're going to post a video from our Footcast. I'm actually bypassing my highest-ranked Deshaun Watson. I'm going to go with huge ceilings of Winston and Cam Newton back-to-back. Deshaun Watson's, great. He runs so much that, the floor is high. But I want those huge games to beat you guys because, let's be honest, I've only lost 1 week so far on the season.
You've
in
had
these
quite the
matchups.
impressive record.
Not in league of record, but in draft.
And then I followed it up with Big Ben Roethlisberger playing against the Bengals. High over-under. I'm chasing.
Yeah, I'm going with Deshaun Watson. You guys passed on him, and then Andy Dalton the other side of that matchup against Pittsburgh. I expect.
Dang it!
I mean, that's just a great matchup there. And then Kirk Cousins still on the board. Mike grabbed him.
Yeah,
You're darn right I did.
That was the guy I wanted. I wanted Kirk. I'm going to take the overseas Russell Wilson and put Andrew Luck along with him. I'm going with the names.
And then I will go with Phillip Rivers to close out my team against the Cleveland Browns. Rivers has been incredibly solid this year.
I don't want any of these other guys.
Yeah, I know.
I don't want Alex Smith. I don't want Blake Bortles. I'll take Derek Carr. This secondary in Seattle is
rough.
rough. And Carr's been just a yardage monster. So I'll take him. And so my team, Rodgers, Ryan, Watson, Dalton, Carr.
I've got Brady, Jameis Winston, Cam Newton, booty scooting
Ooh.
Cam Newton.
This is where
I'll wait
you
for
look
it.
at me.
Yep.
Who else you got, Jay?
Russell Wilson and Andrew Luck.
I got Rivers, Cousins, Ben Roethlisberger, Patrick Mahomes, and Jared Goff.
Jared Goff.
You guys lost, or Jason won last week. Mike lost again last week.
Shut your mouth.
So very nice.
Jared Goff.
You guys have any other thoughts for today's show outside of obviously starting Alex Collins on Monday night somehow?
Yeah, I would look to start Alex Collins on Monday night.
Good.
That's
and now you have Alex Collins, and just to be clear, you played Corey Clement over him last night. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, Alex Collins is currently in my flex.
Oh, is he?
He was Corey Clement was a Thursday night football player, so I took him out of my flex, put him in my running back spot.
Nice
It was
work.
a test.
And quick reminder, FootClan, if you could head over to footclanvote.com and nominate us for the Discover Podcast Awards, we'd be appreciative.
You
of
can
it.
nominate the Fantasy Footballers and the Spitballers podcast.
You can.
Both of our podcasts.
You absolutely can.
Without further commentary,
Without further ado,
we
the
shall
end
close
of
the show.
Jared Goff.
All right, see you, everybody.
Hey, check out draft.com/ballers if you want to play with us. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com. And follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.